Once again, good music cannot be killed. It's impossible for it to die, because for as long as there is people with good ears, good music will survive. Hello there and welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be finally giving a look and playing a track by the fantastic band known as the Eagles. The track in question is I Can't Tell You Why from the album The Long Run. This is a beautiful sounding ballad. It's one of my favorite songs ever, and for very good reasons. This track is loaded with amazing ear candy, and being the studio rat that I am and a nerd when it comes to music production, the sound of the production itself is beautiful. It's one of the best sounding records ever, in my opinion. And we're going to be analyzing this track from the perspective of a nerd like me, but using language that everybody can understand. So if this is your jam, let's rock and roll. Here we go. So here we go. I Can't Tell You Why by Eagles. Sorry for interrupting, but you know the drill. First and foremost, what a beautiful sounding track this is, don't you think? It feels cozy, it feels personal, it feels intimate. It does everything it's supposed to do perfectly well. Now, I'm going to be putting a lot of emphasis during this analysis on the quality of the mix itself, because it sounds beautiful. It has a particular sound to it. And Eagles, for the better part of their catalog, their music tends to be kind of tiny sounding, don't you think? Or at least it might be the impression that I got, because their music is it's not hard hitting, it's not super heavy, but it has plenty of impact. It's impactful, right? It's kind of punchy to a certain degree. But this being such a beautiful ballad, it goes for a much more mellower sound and makes it feel like it's a conversation that is taking place between a couple. It sounds beautiful. Now, please tell me who is the one singing for this one, because his voice is perfect for this particular track. And also, please tell me who was playing the keyboards in this recording as well, because there is plenty of keyboard action, particularly during the introduction of the track, because you can hear clearly an electric piano playing the main chords of the harmony. But also there is a little bit of an organ, and actually there is a string machine being used, which is one of it's a synthesizer that the one that I got over there. You have a better shot right now in front of you. I don't know which model they used for that particular recording, but the sound of a string machine is very unique to it, because it's a synthesizer that is trying to simulate the sound of an orchestra. And it fails miserably at it, but it creates a beautiful sound that I love. I happen to be a sucker for that one, for that particular sound. The unit that I got here in the studio is a Krumar Performer from the 70s, late 70s, I think. And it's a beautiful sounding machine. I love it. And it was made famous by Duran Duran, for those of you who are interested in those kind of details. But whatever. I don't know which one they use for this one. It could be a Solina or one of those Italian manufacturers from that era. And I'm going a little bit nerdy on you, but I happen to love synthesizers quite a lot, as you might be able to see. And the point of this is that you can hear how beautiful the thing is, and how kind of it kind of sets a very very interesting mood, right? It makes it feel even more how can I put it, emotional. That would be the way that I would describe the sound of that particular instrument in this piece. Now, One thing that I like to point out as well is the sound of the drums. They are not bombastic, and that's a part of the sound of the Eagles, I think. I have never heard them using a super heavy or punchy or stupidly gigantic sounding drum kit. In general, their music tends to be, as I said before, kind of cozy, kind of personal, and not as loud, but it still carries some punch to it. And I happen to love this particular sound. I was even thinking that at one point in my career, I would love to make an album in the sound of this guy, of these guys in general, but using this particular recording as a referencing point because it has that particular sound. It's something that is very unique to this era, and it's kind of similar to the sound of Fleetwood Mac. This album, Rumors, one of my favorite albums ever. It's not as I think Fleetwood Mac is a little bit more impactful, a little bit more punchier sounding, but this one has this particular beautiful take. The closest would be Age by Steely Dan as well. But even that one is a little bit punchier than this one. But whatever, I'm derailing. Let's keep listening to this beautiful song, and once I talk back to you, we're gonna be analyzing the mix at its fullest. Here we go. And one thing, pay attention to the sound of the vocals, and please try to see if they feel big or tiny and close to you. Okay? Sorry. If it feels big, I'm gonna rephrase this. If they feel big and far away from you, or if they feel tiny and close to you. Okay? Let's keep rocking. Here we go.
When we get crazy, it just ain't right. Keep your head. Girl, I get lonely too. You don't have to worry. Just hold on tight. Caught in your little world. 'Cause I love you. Nothing's wrong as far as I can see.
What a beautiful song this is, right? And this is one of those instances on which I couldn't help myself and I let the song continue because it's beautiful. One thing that I mentioned while Drag was playing, the sound of the guitar, right? The tone is incredible. It's beautiful. It's the right sound for this particular song. The tone, it's not loud, it's not in your face, but it has plenty of character. It's clean enough, but it's slightly distorted. It has everything it needed to make itself present in the mix and also to push the song even further. Love it. Also, the phrasing, the melodies played by the guitar were fantastic across the board. What a beautiful track. Eagles is one of the best bands ever for many reasons. Also, another thing, the backing vocals, fantastic harmonies, right? When they were playing, when they were singing along the main vocals, every single moment in which those backing vocals appears, wow, it's one of the signature sounds from the Eagles. And just as a matter of fact, the Eagles was one of the bands that taught me how to craft proper vocal harmonies when I was developing my skills as a composer and music producer, uh, because of how great they are at it. It was between the Eagles and America. Both bands are fantastic when it comes to the use of their vocal harmonies. And this is one of those moments in which they truly show off what they're made of. Now, could you tell what I was trying to tell you, or what I was trying to point you towards when it came to sound of the vocals? They are kind of close to you, right? They are not like it's not that they feel that they were the singer was inside of a gigantic cavern. It's very close to you because I mind that the song was recorded in a beautiful sounding studio, of course, but the vocals are kind of were recorded in a vocal booth that was devoid of reflections. Reflections means mind that you go into a bathroom and all of a sudden my voice starts to sound like this. This is due to the fact that there is an effect known as reverb, and it's basically speaking the reflections happening around, or the reflections of the sound produced by your voice, bouncing back from the walls and coming back to your ears. The sound of his vocals in this one feels what we call in the music production environment as dry because they are devoid of any form of reverberation or reflections from the room. And that creates this much more personal and cozy feeling at times, okay? Because it's all based on the program, on the material that you're working on. And in this case, great production and great decision making because it feels even more personal and it embodies this kind of an intimate conversation taking place due to the concept of the song. Okay, now let's take a look at the screen. Over here we got decibel, which is the tool that we use to analyze music through the use of a visual medium. And the first section of our analyzer is this section, which is the frequency range analyzer. Okay, and then here we got this white line, which represents how loud each of the different frequencies that are part of the human hearing range, which stands for 20 all the way down to 20,000 hertz, were at the highest point in volume during the performance of the track, during the playback of the track. And very, very interesting because this song sounds warm, cozy, and as I've been repeating myself quite often throughout this this analysis, personal and intimate. I'm making that comment because we got here this incredibly pronounced low end and very little high end. This is very, very, very Italian. You probably, if you're into critical audio listening or you're an audiophile yourself, you might have heard this term thrown around quite often, which is warm. And this song is a good example of what warm stands for. That means warm stands for something that is not that bright sounding. By bright, I mean plenty of high end, okay? And this track clearly has not as much energy on the highs over here when compared to the energy projected by the lows. When we listen to music and something sounds is warm in tone, it gives the impression of it being more personal and cozy. That's why we use warm to define that particular timbre or that characteristic. And wow, this track actually is the biggest manifestation of that particular term I have ever had in this show. Didn't think about it. This is actually taking me by surprise. And now going a little bit more technical, it's very interesting to see that the low end is as big as it is in here in the analyzer because it doesn't feel that punching, right? But that's what I was trying to say at the beginning, because somehow Eagles managed to create music that is not as bombastic sounding, but even though it's like that, it has this particular level of gravitas to it, right? Every time that the kick hits, even though it's not that gigantic, it's not Metallica, for example, you feel it. And when the group begins and the kick and the bass kick in, you feel it. There is something that happens, and it's clearly here. It's clearly shown here because we got plenty of low end, impressively enough. Also, we got the beautiful work on the cymbals. It's not high end, not high end. Sorry, it's not that high on the high end spectrum, part of the spectrum, and it's the right amount. Once again, another term to describe this kind of sound is dark, because we don't have that much of the bright sound, which is usually found on the high end. Okay, and mid range, also no surprise, because I was even the fact that we are dealing with a song that is very heavily driven by the sound of the synthesizers, keyboards, and particularly the vocals. The fact that we don't have that much energy on the mid range, high mid range to be precise, is impressive to me, because this is the area where most of the meat and potatoes of the track should be found. Well, it's found, okay, but the roll off of the highs begins probably here, man. And you see how beautifully done it is. Wow, wow, wow. Quite cool. Impressive. Once again, Eagles is one of the best bands I ever heard when it came to music production and recording. Very, very good musicians, and also they knew their craft. Now let's take a look at the second section of the analyzer. This is the frequency range. This is not the frequency range. Sorry, this is the dynamic range analyzer. In here, through the use of this blue blob, we will see how loud this track was throughout time. And the higher this blue blob is, the higher in volume the track was blasted to us. That's important because when something is louder, it becomes much more impactful, much more attention grabbing, and energetic. And when something becomes quieter, it becomes more personal and mellower, okay? And sexy to a certain degree, and mysterious. This track, being the way it is, relies quite a lot on the dynamic range. And you see that this is the beginning, the introduction. We can even see the keyboard. Interesting, right? Because the keyboard is that melody is the loudest throughout the introduction of the track. And here is clearly when we get the kick drum and the bass, and the singing is here. You see that the track increased in volume drum, not that much, mind you, throughout the introduction of the first verse and chorus, because the difference between the chorus and the verse, even though harmonically speaking is very clear, dynamically speaking is not that much, because the track, intelligently enough, uses the dynamics of the performance in the sections between the singing sections. Let me show you here. Here's the ending of the first chorus, and the huge drop happens here. Clever, because this is when they reintroduce the harmony, the melody, and see how much it jumps up once they bring back the vocals and the drums. And here we got the preparation before we got into the beautiful final section of the track and guitar solo. See how much this track increases in volume by the end of the song. This is the instrumental section at the very end. Super, super good. This track got famous recently. Probably not famous, but it became a little bit viral because there was a bunch of kids performing it together. We're talking about kids around probably 12 to 15 years old. And they were actually killing it. Great performance of the track. And I saw it doing the rounds on X. And one of the comments that actually was the inspiration behind this analysis said that seeing these kids playing this restores a little bit my faith in humanity. and that actually shook me, and in the best way possible, because I also kind of, partially because being in this environment allows me to see a little bit of what's going on with different in a generational way. There was a period, and I can tell you that, in which I also felt that good music was on its way out, because newer generations weren't showing interest in producing or performing or creating, for that matter, great sounding music, because they were more inclined to do whatever was popular and played on the radio. And if you're watching this channel, I think we can agree that modern music and the one that is blasted by anything that is authoritative in nature tends to suck greatly. There's very rare examples of modern music, popular music, of being great. And this guy mentioning this, and his reaction based on watching kids performing a track from the late 80s in such a beautiful way, inspired him to feel that there is something cooking that is going to be great. And from this perspective, working as a professional music producer and engineer, I saw the same, because there is a particular thing happening with particularly Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Some of them are kind of getting into good stuff because some of them are discovering, I don't know how, and that I mentioned the comment because I would like to know if you have an idea how they are actually discovering these tracks, which is great. Maybe it's Spotify, I don't know, but the whole point of this is that, once again, good music cannot be killed. It's impossible for it to die, because for as long as there is people with good ears, good music will survive. So with that being said, thank you for watching, thank you for joining, and if you wanna be part of this more often, well, subscribe to the channel, because we do this quite often here. And if you have any suggestion or on which track by the Eagles should I react to soon enough or later on, please let me know in the comment section down below. Now, as usual, if you like to support this channel, the best way to do it is by listening to our music on Apple Music or Spotify, which is heavily inspired by the Eagles, but we play a little bit heavier. So chances are that you might like it. Yeah, I think you're gonna like it, because as I said before, the harmonies, the vocal harmonies that I write are quite inspired by these guys. It's kind of like me paying tribute to this fantastic band. Okay, and also you can support us by joining this channel, subscribe to this channel, leaving a like, leaving a comment, because otherwise YouTube is not gonna support or push this further. So please do that. Well, with that being said, as usual, as every single time I meet you, I gotta remind you that you should never let anybody tell you what to dream about. And remember that I will see you when I see you.